I know that you guys won't ever spend $3,000 on a gaming PC because you would rather donate your hard-earned money to your beloved parents or your friends in need. However, if you just won the lottery and you already gave away half of it and you still have some money left, then here's my take on how to build what I consider the gaming PC with the best price performance for $3,000. Of course, this video is not sponsored by anybody, so I'm completely free of bias and I can really recommend what I think is the best hardware that you can currently buy. But now let's not waste any more time and let's dive directly into the parts for our $3,000 gaming PC build. And let's start with the processor. In my opinion, the best processor you can currently buy in this price segment is the AMD Ryzen 9 3950X. This processor is an absolute powerhouse. It has 16 cores with 32 threads and up to 4.7 GHz, which is just insane and almost over the top even for the most demanding AAA games. And you can basically do everything with it. Extremely fast rendering, streaming and gaming is absolutely no problem. So I can definitely recommend this one for our $3,000 gaming PC build. This processor also comes with the AMD Red Prism cooler, which is really strong for a stock cooler. It even has an RGB fan, which is completely controllable via software. When we play games with this processor, we will never be bottlenecked by the CPU power. It is also very likely that it will be sufficient for most video games that will be released in the complete next decade. And therefore I highly recommend this processor for our $3,000 gaming PC build. Now, when it comes to the graphics card, the most important piece of any gaming PC, I recommend to buy the best graphics card that's out there in the consumer market right now. And that is the GeForce RTX 2080 Ti. And I recommend specifically the Asus ROG Strix version because it has a very solid price performance. But it is also one that has a very good custom board that doesn't run too hot, which helps us a lot with lifetime expectancy and additional performance gains. It costs $1,300, but it is extremely powerful and can play all the games with very high FPS. Of course, when you think about high-end graphics, the question is always if it makes sense to buy two graphics cards that run in SLI mode, which stands for Scalable Link Interface. That basically means that you would buy 2 times exactly the same graphics card that after you plug it in, run simultaneously at the same time. It's basically something like dual mode for 2 RAM blocks, which is already working pretty successfully in modern PCs. However, I won't recommend 2 graphics cards that run in SLI mode because the past has shown that people have a lot of problems trying to make SLI work for most games. Most modern games right now are just simply not programmed for using 2 GPUs at the same time. Therefore, I recommend just the one 2080 Ti. It should also be sufficient to play all games at the highest settings anyways. Now that we have such an amazing graphics card and processor, we need the RAM to support those, and I recommend 2 16GB RAM blocks with 3600 MHz from Corsair. If we spend $3,000 on a gaming PC, we should always make sure that we are never running out of RAM at any time. And with 32GB of RAM, we have enough to probably play 2 AAA games at the same time. However, this specific RAM is also powerful enough to support all the other hardware parts up to the ratings, which means up to whatever the manufacturer declares as the highest memory frequency supported. Actually, the frequency is so high that it supports them even beyond their ratings, which has been shown to increase performance in Ryzen processors. Additionally, these high frequencies make these RAM blocks very future-proof, and that means that you can reuse them easily in future builds. For the motherboard, we go for a little bit more performance and cooling power compared to the $2,000 build I showed you last time. Here I would buy the MPG X570 Gaming Plus. The X570 socket is AMD's newest socket and will not only support AMD's new 4th generation CPUs, but also further generations in the future. I personally think this motherboard has generally the best price performance out of all the motherboards that have a X570 socket, so I can definitely recommend this one. It supports all the frequencies that we need and it has all the connectors that we need. It also has great heatsinks that help cooling our system. And of course, the most important thing, it's relatively cheap. For the memory, I recommend the Crucial MX500 with 1TB of storage. Gaming performance is almost never influenced by memory, and therefore we go very cheap here. But still, this SSD has a DRAM chip which increases its lifespan and makes it even faster in some applications compared to DRAM-less SSDs. Also, with 1 TB of storage, we have enough space for many games, even the largest ones. And of course, if you think that 1 TB of storage is not enough for you, then you can easily add another HDD to your build as well. And here I would recommend the Seagate Barracuda HDD with 4 TB. With 4 TB, you should really have no storage problems in the near future at all. For the power supply, I recommend the FGA 700 GD. It provides 700 watts of continuous power, which is exactly what we need for the parts in this gaming PC. It is also gold certified, which makes it very efficient, which will reduce your electric bill. It's generally a very solid power supply with single rail, stable DC-DC converter and a very quiet fan for near silent operation. It has also a very good heavy-duty protection, which is very important in high-performance gaming PCs. When it comes to the case, I recommend the Fractal Design Define 7. Fractal Design is considered to be one of the best case manufacturers by many people. And the Define series is one of the most popular series from Fractal Design. So as the 7th version of such a popular series, you can be certain that this case is a really strong case. As always, design is very subjective, but I personally like it quite a lot. The airflow system is almost flawless and its cable management is great. And so overall it's a very solid case and it fits perfectly into our $3,000 gaming PC build that we are trying to build here. So these 7 or 8 parts, if you count the HDD too, make up our gaming PC. Now I personally like this build quite a lot, but I have to say that the lower you go with the amount of money that you spend for a gaming PC, the better the price performance ratio you can actually get. And therefore I think that the $2,000 gaming PC build that I recommended last week has a much better price performance when it comes to gaming performance. So if you really want to build an amazing gaming machine while being very efficient with your money, I recommend building the gaming PC that I recommended in last week's video. And by the way, all recommendations will change over time, and for that I created a website that I will update regularly, so if you watch this video a few months from now, you can easily go there and you will always find the best builds with the guaranteed best value for money. And of course, before you leave, if you liked the video, I would love if you give it a thumbs up. Thanks for that, and I wish you a happy building.